Okay.
Probably,
I'm hoping this is live streaming.
That's online.
Yeah, to the correct account, I hope. Okay, and I'm going to start recording. And then we'll bring this meeting to order. This is the Board of Education meeting of August 25th, 2020. We're recording this meeting, and all those who are on phones who are joining us virtually, I would ask that you mute your phone until public participation if you plan to speak at public participation. And then we'll start with our Pledge of Allegiance, and I will focus on the flag, which is right behind me. And if you'll join me in saying the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of
The United States of America,
and to
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. And then I will move on to our commitment to community. I think Debbie Lideline is with us by phone.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Would you mind reading our commitment to community?
I will. As citizens of our community, we will conduct ourselves in accordance with Newtown's core character attributes as displayed in our character tree. We will be responsible for our actions and show respect for each other. We will interact peacefully, productively, and politely. We will be trustworthy and honest and show compassion toward others. Newtown's continued success is contingent upon our ability to follow through with our commitments, and persevere to follow through with our commitments and to stay focused on the greater good.
Okay, thank you. So that brings us to our celebration of excellence. And I'm going to see if I can share my screen. So if you give me a moment. So this evening, we start off the evening with a celebration of excellence and a fond farewell. This is Ron Binkowski's last meeting with our board. And we've prepared a short video just to celebrate. So if you can. And a little trepidation that we send. It is with much appreciation and a little trepidation that we send Ron Binkowski, one of our district's longest standing members, into a well-earned and richly deserved retirement. Before we do, we will want him to download all of the memories and knowledge that he's stored in his 21 plus years with the district. I'm not sure how we will do that, but if we could, we surely would. Until that happens, we'd like to share with you some of the many ways he's made Newtown Public Schools better. Mr. Binkowski does not relish the spotlight, yet he is a crucial voice for the district during the annual presentations of the budget. Newtown has unusually numerous layers of government. First, the Board of Education, then the Board of Finance, followed by the Legislative Council Education Committee, then the Legislative Council, and finally the public referendum. Mr. Binkowski is essential to ensuring that the boards and community understands the budget. Over several years, Mr. Binkowski served on the Newtown Shared Services Committee, helping identify several areas where shared services would save the town and the Board of Education money, including a shared service purchasing agent, shared technology services, and a shared payroll system. Without a cooperative spirit that Mr. Binkowski brought to these discussions, these shared services would not be in place today.
What our balances are, our various
school accounts, grant accounts, and other general ledger accounts. Another aspect of that, which I have been discussing with Bob, is how do we take this to the next step?
He and his office received the Connecticut Association of Boards of Education Communications Award for the Newtown Public Schools 2015-16 budget book. And Ron has been twice awarded the CASBO Celebrated Connecticut School Business Official Award, which in turn supported 2 students in their post-secondary education in finance with scholarships. In 2012, the district changed its transportation system under the guidance of Mr. Binkowski. The process was emotionally wrought, but it resulted in savings of approximately $800,000 a year to the district and taxpayers. From 2013 onward, Mr. Binkowski oversaw the management of millions in state and federal grant money that was allocated for the unique circumstances in our district following the Sandy Hook school shooting. These monies were crucial to the recovery of the district, both physically and emotionally, and he can be proud that his work was key to the recovery of our staff and students. In 2016, the district began talks to change the high school start times with the goal of doing so at no additional cost to the district. Any superintendent or Board of Education member who has taken on changing the school start times will tell you that it is often the end of their careers because of how tumultuous the negotiations can be. Trying to make the change with no change in transportation costs is almost unthinkable. Mr. Binkowski, as an integral member of the team and liaison to the transportation company, ensured that the transportation contract was poised for the potential change, addressing the possibility for a 2-tier system and a 3-tier system. And he helped ensure that every efficiency was realized to make the change work. Newtown is now one of a few districts in Connecticut with high school and middle school start times after 8 a.m., and it was done at no additional cost to the community. He has also advocated for education beyond Newtown's borders, submitting testimony to the Connecticut General Assembly on behalf of education. Likewise, the community has advocated for him. In 2009, the community turned out in droves to support a bone marrow registry drive to support Mr. Binkowski in his fight against leukemia. Superintendents and elected officials come and go. Mr. Binkowski has been here through 6 superintendents and literally hundreds of elected officials. Newtown politics are hard to endure, yet he is a steady force, presenting the numbers, the history of the district, and the explanation of the differences between the excess cost grant and the education cost-sharing funding year after year. He is straightforward and unemotional in his presentation, and always the students have been at the heart of his considerations. Ron, the Newtown Board of Education wishes you the very best in your retirement. You have so much to be proud of, and we will miss your steady guidance. You have left a lasting legacy and a deep influence on this district. We truly hope you enjoy your next endeavors.
So, Ron, we will miss you, and I mean that from my heart, that it has been a joy working with you, and I appreciate all the work that you've done for the district and the board members as well. Appreciate all that you've done. I'm realizing as I'm watching this that we did not include the COVID crisis as one of your accomplishments, which right now you're in the midst of. So when you're done with that, you can add that to your resume for your next job application. But we do appreciate everything you've done, and thank you very much. Are you on mute? Because we would love to catch this on the tape. So if you could unmute yourself, that would be great.
Well, I want to say that, I certainly appreciate the support that the board and the administration has provided me. I certainly wouldn't be able to do the job that I've been able to do without that detailed and consistent support, knowing that the board and the community was really going to support what we thought was the right thing to do in a lot of cases. I got a kick out of watching the video because it showed me what my whole wardrobe was. And I haven't worn that wardrobe in so long, so I don't know if I'll ever wear it again, but I like the final video where you showed me airborne in a race car. That's really something that I want to strive for. I really appreciate it, but I really have to say thank you. Thank you. I wouldn't have been in this community for 21 years if it really wasn't a worthwhile community that really valued what was important to children first. I mean, that is most important. I've been in other communities and I haven't seen that exhibited there. So I appreciate working here. And I actually think it's been a privilege to be here for as long as I have. But it is time for me to try to smell the roses at this point. So thank you all. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And then normally we would take a break now to have some refreshments, but in this current time that just doesn't seem feasible with the few people that we have here, and it's not good. But we do look forward to seeing you in the community. That's what's great about having you here, and thank you. Did anybody else want to say anything before we move on? Mr. D'Elia?
Ron, I just want to wish you the best in all your future endeavors. It's been a pleasure working with you, and I wish you health and happiness in the future.
Thank you, Dan. Dr. Rodriguez.
No, I know Ron has heard me say this before, but I couldn't have done my job without you and your guidance and your feedback when I took over as interim superintendent. And that meant the world to me, and your support and your honest and genuine, feedback through all the budget processes. You've done an outstanding job, and you will be sadly missed. So thank you for all you've done for Newtown and the whole community.
Michelle?
Ms. Ledline?
Yeah. I just wanted to say that Ron, over the last 11 years, over committee meetings, Board of Ed meetings, and everything in between, we've spent a lot of time together. And I think that, you've kept the district going at a even keel, even though we've had changes over the years. One thing we could always count on was that you would keep us running at a smooth pace. So I appreciate all the work that you've done for Newtown, for our kids, and for our citizens. And I was so hoping you were going to wear your school bus tie tonight. Thanks, Ron.
Ms. Herman-Steitz?
Ron, I just wanted to say that a real personal thank you. When I started on the board 5 years ago, I had a lot to learn, and you really answered every question I had with kindness and clarity. You've always been very transparent and honest, and I just always have appreciated having you as someone that I could really just ask any question, no matter how dumb it might be. So you always were there, and you've helped to lead this community through a lot of challenges, and I really do wish you the very best. You deserve it. So thank you for all you've done for us.
Ms. Zukowski?
Ron, we've known each other for decades, I think now. and I was really looking forward to working with you. But if you want to retire, you go ahead and retire, and I do wish you the best of all those years ahead of you. So thank you very much for everything you've done for the school district.
Okay, is there anybody else? All right, if there's no other comments, we'll move on. That'll bring us to our consent agenda. And we'll take a motion on that.
I move that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda, which includes the minutes of August 6, 2020, the donation to the Sandy Hook School Music Department, and the correspondence report.
Second.
Okay, and then, so Mr. D'Elia makes the motion, Mr. Cruson seconds the motion, and then Ms. Zukowski.
I request that we pull the minutes of August 6th out of the consent agenda.
Okay, so we'll pull the minutes of August 6th from the consent agenda and leave those till the end of well, that'll be our last agenda item in the meeting. All right, so is there any further comment or discussion on that? All right, all those in favor of the consent agenda absent the minutes of August 6th?
Aye.
All right, and Ms. Leidline, was that an aye?
That was.
And Mr. Voros?
Aye.
There we go. So that's unanimous. All right, and then that brings us to our public participation. So in order to unmute yourself, in order to participate in the public participation, you will need to press *6. During the first public participation, the board welcomes commentary regarding items on the agenda. After being recognized, you may state your name, or please state your name and address for the record. And then we request that speakers be respectful and limit their comments to not more than 3 minutes. The Board of Education does not discuss personnel items or student matters in public. And then during the second public participation, commentary may address the agenda or may introduce issues for the board to consider in the future. The board does not engage in dialogue during either of the public comment periods. And if you need more information, you can, or have specific questions, you can email the board. All right, so having said that, are there any people who would like to make a public comment at this time? And you, again, you'll need to unmute yourself using *6 on your phone. All right, I'm not seeing anyone or hearing anyone. So we'll move on from public participation and close it out. And that brings us to our reports, and we'll begin with my chair report. The chair report includes, there was new teacher and staff orientation last week. On Friday was a day that I visited with the new staff just to talk about the role of the Board of Education and how we might help new staff members and how they might participate in Board of Education matters. And then, let's see, just in terms of future meetings, I mentioned this at our last meeting. We will have to have access for the public to be in person at our meetings beginning in September unless the governor changes his orders, his executive order. And I'd like to continue to encourage people to communicate remotely. And I don't think that our policies prevent that in any way, especially board members. You are allowed to participate remotely. I think the policy indicates that you need to notify the chair before the meeting in a certain amount of time, and that probably would still be a good idea. just so we know how many people will be in person versus by Zoom, but we'll continue to do these Zoom meetings and try to socially distance while we are here. I don't know what we'll do if we'll get a crowd of people, the public showing up at a meeting. We'll have to figure out how to manage that. But usually we've been pretty good about figuring out the size of the venue that we need for various topics that come up. And let's see, the Board of Finance, the meeting in September will include the Board of Ed proposed CIP as well as the non-lapsing fund request that is likely to come up by the end of this meeting. So that'll be September 14th. And that concludes my report. Are there any questions or comments? All right, sensing none, then we will move on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Rodriguez.
Hey, thank you, Dr. Koo. So as you all know, tomorrow's the first day back for all of our teachers and staff, and we're very excited. We will be viewing a pre-recorded convocation this year. So staff will be in their respective buildings so that we can socially distance, but we have some wonderful celebrations planned, including recognizing our teachers who have been with us for 25 years, our Para of the Year, Dawn Eagleson, and Teacher of the Year, as you know, Janice Gabriel. We are also in the process of finalizing our bus monitor lists, and right now we're about 5 persons away from the number we need each day. We're going to get there. We're confident we'll be able to find that in the next few days. We have some more folks in the community who are signing up, so we want to thank the community. I know I put that out, posted that, and also to thank our PTAs who put out an all call, which I think helped a lot. We are still awaiting, of course, some responses, but we definitely have the first 2 days completely covered, and we're close to covering the first 2 weeks completely, both morning and afternoon shifts. So we do have a couple of early dismissals, as you know, for conferences, but we sent out a note to everyone so everyone is aware of the calendar. I will also be sending, as I mentioned to parents, a welcome back letter. I want this to be obviously a positive note as we enter this very unique school year, but also I want to send some important reminders again to all of our parents about the importance of attendance and home screenings and some more detail about remote learning. I have to say we have worked really hard on our end to ensure that all students will have a positive synchronous instruction and be able to interact with their teachers, something that I think we learned a lot from the past 3 months at the end of the year. So this means it is also important for students to participate unless, of course, there's a legitimate reason not to, like illness. So we want to make sure that all parents are really supporting us in that way when it comes to making sure students are in school. Donna Colbert, our Director of Health, and I are drafting a letter, which will also be going out. So there are very clear expectations to the community, to our parents around what the communication chain will look like when there is a positive COVID case or illness in our schools. As I shared, I believe in my Sunday highlights and with the parents, a sample of what I'm receiving in reports weekly through Ed Advance, and that gives us the not only the town data, but also the county data, which is very important. Regarding illnesses, there is an obligation to protect privacy and confidentiality of our staff and students to the best of our ability. However, we will be alerting any and all staff and families who need to know and may need to take some action, such as self-quarantine, or testing. So this letter is very important. We'll be sending that out very soon. So that's it for me. I'm just really excited to get the year off the ground finally, and we've done so much work. You can see as we walked even in this building, the signage which is very visible, and that's very important, not just to the students, but to our staff coming back in the morning. So we just wish everyone that this is going to be a very productive year. I know it's unique and there's trepidation, but I think my team has done a great job.
I have, I'm sure, because I've been aware of everything that's been going on, and it's been a lot of work. Are there any questions or comments on the superintendent's report? Mr. Cruson?
I unfortunately can't attend the convocation, but was wondering if at some point in the near future you could send a list of which staff members are being awarded the 25-year honor this year.
Yes, actually, convocation will be, it's already done. It's pre-recorded and it will be uploaded on YouTube tomorrow. So I will send the link to everyone.
That works too. Thank you.
And Ms. Zukowski?
Hello. Is the meeting being streamed tonight, or is it just the call-in number?
So a couple of meetings ago, I asked if people in the community or the staff wanted to access testing, if there were a way for them to do so. And from what I understand, you've looked into possible alternatives for them. And would you mind saying a few words about that?
Yeah, sure. I think the question, we did look into the health-based centers, if you recall, and if testing could happen there. I talked with the director of health, but also Ann Dalton, our supervising nurse, who looked into that, and that's just not possible. However, we are sending resources. I think you'll hear that from Matt Memley as well for the athletes, but also to all of our parents and students so that they have the available testing sites. There are even free sites. There are sites a site in Bethel where it's a rapid test. So we want to make sure that all of our parents and families have those resources. Many I know have already used them, so they are out there. They're definitely on the Director of Health's webpage as well, or Newtown, the Health and Wellness site. So, but we will certainly continue to make sure that everyone has that information.
Dr. Koo, I think there was a question about whether or not the meeting was being live streamed.
Yeah, Michelle, I mean, Dr. Koo, this live stream just says waiting for you.
Oh,
it's
dear.
just gray. It's not live streaming right now. I kind of, once I heard that, I went over and clicked on it, and it's just a gray box.
All right.